But I did want to talk about pets because pets, we all love our pets, and pets are becoming even more popular by the day. And so a lot of people ask about advice on pets moving to Hawaii. There are rules that you do have to follow. And let's look at a sample question here we have from Lisa, and Lisa says, what are the rules around bringing pets? What is quarantine like for them? Any other advice on owning or adopting house pets? So this is a generic question, and I'd like us to kind of expand on this one to yeah, there you go. It's Jessica. Jessica and Wes are the said pet owners of Indeed, right? This is for you, Jess. This is for you. So let's kind of go around, and let's go clockwise this time. Dylan, what advice, what should people that are moving to the Big Island with pets, what should they be considering?
Just the lead time. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do, vaccinations, sometimes you have to quarantine, but do your research and figure out how much time it's going to take, because it is not a simple process to get pets here. But in general, it's a very pet friendly place. So once you get them here, they should be happy. Of course, they're going to love the weather just like you will, but it's you can't just throw them on the plane and come over here. There's sometimes, months ahead of time, you got to start that process in order to make it a smooth transition.
Hey, Jessica, if you want to share, I'd be curious of how far out the planning that you started doing to get your pets here quarantined. That would be helpful to everybody. Scott, what about Oahu? What do you have to kind of think about if you're bringing pets to Oahu?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just like the COVID testing for coming here to skip quarantine. It's upfront planning is the key. We are a rabies-free state, which is why you have to jump through hoops or you're going to have to quarantine your pet. I don't have a client that's ever quarantined their pet because we plan and prep that up front. And there's a checklist online. As long as you follow it, and you need to follow it to the T, you shouldn't have any issues. You can actually skip quarantine altogether. They have what they call a 5-day or less program to immediate release. And the immediate release, I think, is $185 fee, but you got to get rabies testing done. Then you got to do blood work where you get an antibody testing done, fill out all this paperwork, have like a health physical that gets done. All of that work has to be done more than 30 days out prior to arriving, but the paperwork that you fill out and submit has to be received here no more than 10 days, or excuse me, no less than 10 days prior to your arrival. So you're realistically talking minimum 45 days of starting some of the work that you're doing. So realistically, it's several months because of the rabies testing. Then you have another testing that goes on. Then you got to fill out your paperwork. Then you got to submit it in, and there's a wait time period there from when you do the antibody test. You have to wait 30 days. So once you wait that 30-day period and go out and fill out that paperwork, then you got to send it in. So you're probably about 3 to 4. Some people even do it 5 months out, starting that preparation. But once they do, then they don't even have to quarantine their pet. Everyone's fear with the quarantine is how traumatized is their pet going to be. So they try to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, actually, Scott, that's one thing that you brought up that is something that we kind of take for granted here in Hawaii, which is that Hawaii is one of the very few places on Earth that is rabies free. There are no rabies present in the Hawaiian Islands. So that means, if you get bit by a dog or any other animal, one thing you don't have to worry about is rabies. And so and thanks for mentioning that, Scott, because I totally forgot about that. And that's why we've had such a very strict quarantine program. Back in the old days, back when I was young, it was like 120 days of quarantine. It was insane. And it was, not very, very popular. Thanks, Jessica. Jessica says, yeah, the sooner you know, the better. Give yourself 6 to 9 months to get all the stuff done. Now, that's coming from the horse's mouth, someone who's moving to Oahu with some pets. So that's definitely what the case is. And Mary Jean, excited to move back. Yeah, well, we're gonna make sure you join us and keep us posted on what's going on. Heidi, is there anything different in Maui that you have to kind of think through on the pet side, quarantining, planning, etc.? What's going on with that?
Well, it used to be your pet would have to quarantine on Oahu and then come over to Maui. So now they have the direct release program, which, like what Dylan and Scott had mentioned, I mean, it's kind of a joke. If you're coming to Maui, your pet needs to start getting ready before you do. Only other thing I had to share is I had a client once who had a pet snake, and you can't bring a snake to Hawaii. There's no snakes here. They're not allowed. So
Snakes are not. Yeah, I guess you have to be careful about what kind of pet, right? You can't. Yeah, snakes not good. We don't have any snakes here either. That's another thing that we don't have. We don't have snakes. Heidi, I'm sorry I cut you off. Is there anything else you want to add to that? It was a great line. Okay, thanks. Well, one thing I love about our panel here is that we kind of fill in little details. It's like a big puzzle piece, right? There's a topic, and each one of us has something valuable to contribute. So I really, really appreciate that. And actually, even on speaking of that, I appreciate everybody else who's with us. So Joyce, our tenant, bought a dog, no issue, except she had to fill out a ton of paperwork. No quarantine needed. Sadly, no beaches for pets, but a great dog park in Holualoa. Yeah. One thing that we should mention is the difficulty, though, at the same time, as far as the paperwork is concerned, like you all said, you have to go through and plan it through. But what about renting? Renting with pets? I understand. Yeah, there you go. You're all nodding, because I remember, Dylan, your comment once was good luck, meaning that you're not going to find rent. Scott, renting on Oahu, not that easy, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, pet friendly renting.
No, and I'm recommending to people at this point, hey, leave your pet on the mainland. If you're coming just to rent, that's one thing. If you're coming to rent to buy, leave your pets on the mainland until you get into your home here. And it may take 6 months or so. Otherwise, you're going to complicate that situation and trying to find that temporary housing.
Yeah, so temporary housing is really Heidi, is that any different in Maui? Renting with pets, I'm assuming it's really difficult. Most places don't accept pets, if I'm not mistaken.
People do it, but it is definitely more difficult.
Yeah,
it's definitely more difficult. You'll have less options. I mean, it's hard enough to find a rental without a pet, and then throw in a pet. It makes it more difficult. But do you know what? People do it. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Mark's got a good question. Mark, who is a new member of the Islander Ohana, he's going to be joining the cohort in April. Pets aren't allowed on the beach? ? That's a really good question. I know they're leashed on the beach. What's the here? Real quick, Dylan. What's the rule on the big one with pets on the beach?
Yeah, a lot of the county and state beach parks don't allow them for obvious reasons. I mean, you can't have dogs running around crazy and fighting and pooping on the beach and stuff like that. But there's a lot of places, I mean, especially on the Big Island, where they're not like regulated parks. I mean, you go a little off-road and you hit the shoreline. And so, I mean, those kind of areas, you don't have those restrictions. But another thing to consider with pets is, again, this is a prior planning thing, is if you don't, if you're considering, moving in the next year or two and you don't currently have a pet, but you want one, just wait till you get here, because we have a huge demand for people needing to adopt pets here because of the, one of the reasons is the good weather. I mean, stray animals proliferate here, right? So all of our humane societies usually, are always short on people who are willing to adopt pets. So if you're okay getting a mutt or a feral cat, and
a poi dog. It's called a poi dog.
Yeah, a poi dog. Yeah. Then just wait till you get here. You can avoid, the heartache of trying to get them over here and all the trouble, and you'll have plenty of options to get a great pet once you get here.
Yeah. Scott, I should know this because I have a dog, but we don't. Our dog does not like the water, so he doesn't swim. Scott, what's the rule with beaches with dogs on the beach on Oahu? You can't do it here either, right?
I don't know exactly, but I thought they were allowed. I thought they were allowed on leash, because I mean, you go to Kailua, man. You go out to the beach, I see dogs running all over the place over there, and they're not even on leashes, a lot of them. And I see people walking up and down Kailua Beach all the time with pets. Whether or not it's allowed, I'm not sure. I can't remember, but
I can't either.
Nobody's enforcing anything if they're not allowed.
Certainly on a leash. What about Maui, Heidi? Do you know what the rules are with pets on beaches on Maui?
Well, I see them on the beach all the time. I don't know if they're allowed or not. I think in public beaches, they're probably not technically allowed. I mean, they can't have pets running wild and
certainly got to be on leash. That's for sure. Yeah.
And especially some remote beaches. I mean, if there's nobody else out there, I see people walking their dogs and things. So I don't know. It's a great question.
Yeah, it's more the formal beach parks where you have like a lifeguard and stuff like that, where you're going to have issues. And there's so many beaches that aren't like that, so you just got to avoid those.
Just got to avoid those places. Great. Excellent. Let's see. Joyce chimes in. Thank you, Joyce. We always let dogs on property except for list of 10 breeds. Insurance policy restricts. I'll bet that maybe one of the large dogs, maybe that Jessica's talking about. But Jessica, don't worry, because Joyce is on the Big Island. So Jessica said, I found some condos that have breed size restrictions. Hoping to buy one who allows large dogs. Jess, you know who to be talking to. Scott's the guy on that on Oahu. Let's see what else we got over here. Oh, we have Diane. Aloha from Naples, Florida. Aloha, Diane. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, Joyce, the insurance policies for sure. So, yeah, good clarification. Great. We got the gang that's talking to each other on the chat, which is fantastic. Excellent. Good. I think we covered this topic. Let's hold on a sec. We're going to.
Hey, Peter, one last thing to consider on that, especially on Oahu and your condos. And I ran into this yesterday. I was showing property down on Ward Village side. There's a couple of buildings there are 50 pounds or less as far as how big the dog can be. And then most of them are going to be like 35 pounds or less. So the size of the dog does matter considerably here on Oahu. And it's based condo by condo if you're looking at condo living.
Yeah, and I would say, like, unless you have a dog already, like I'm sure Jessica, who loves her dogs as everyone does, you definitely want to go for a small dog. A small dog is kind of where you're at. If you're going to do what Dylan said, which is to pull to get a dog. Man, I'm losing my train of thought here. To wait until you get here to get a dog, you definitely want to go for a small one. That's going to be where you want to go with that. Okay,